And I love when the attorneys come on the show. It's great content, and it's valuable content. So we got Frank Miranda here in studio. He's a real estate attorney. He also does title closings for real estate companies, mortgage companies, for sale by owners, whoever wants to work with him. And there's some distinct advantages that we've talked about with that, having an attorney on staff.
No, it's definitely different. So if you want me to compare what we do compared to a title company, I can do that for you. And what I mean by that is most title companies nowadays are owned by national companies. National companies have tremendous guidelines and requirements and things of that nature. And when things go south, when something goes bad, the first thing that a big company does is they protect themselves.
Right.
And so it doesn't necessarily mean that, the seller who may have referred that file to you to close pursuant to a contract doesn't mean that their best interest is at heart. So what's great about you guys is, and what I mean about licensed realtors and know what they're doing when you use that contract, I call it a Florida bar contract. And the reason why it's called that is because a lot of professionals got together and said this is the best language for everybody. It allows me, because I'm a lawyer, not only to close the deal, but I can represent the party that brought me that deal per the contract. So if something goes bad, I can step in the room and not worry about what my title underwriters are worried about, even though that's a consideration. But I also have the ability to put another hat on and say, the seller in this transaction might be getting the raw end of the deal, and I can step in and protect his interest right then and there at the table. And if it goes beyond that, unfortunately, sometimes it does, we're able to go ahead and file the lawsuit. And there's a lot of lawyers out there that claim that they litigate. Right. In reality, they don't file anything.
That's what I've seen. Hammer down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a little muscle that comes with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because when you, again, back to kind of how we started off the show with the lenders that say, oh, we're going to pay your closing costs. You don't pay any closing costs with us. And then you have, like you said, attorneys that claim to go to court and, trial attorneys, et cetera. It's just funny how when you look behind the facade, what really means is, on the mortgage side, they're most likely, again, jacking up the rate, giving somebody a higher rate than they qualify for, getting paid points from the lender. Yield used to be called yield spread. I think it's a different way now. Yeah. So there's all these different tactics and things that that's why we developed this show. We developed this show to kind of cut through that and give the consumers out there a straight shot. Here's what's happening and here's what you can do about it.
I love it. Yep.
Yeah, and really, when I say muscle, it's not really muscle. All we do is hold people accountable for what they already agreed to per the contract. So nowadays, it's you relate this to anything in society today. People don't like what's going on. They want to get up and walk out. Well, you can't just get up and walk out. You signed a contract. You gave somebody your word.
That's right.
And all we're saying is keep your word.
That's right. Yeah, and it means a little bit more when it's coming from someone like you sitting at a closing table, especially when you mentioned, on the commercial side, there's less of a fiduciary capacity from a real estate standpoint, on a commercial loan, right, or commercial real estate closing. That's more of businesses. It's more big boys playing big boy game.
Yeah, that's true. And so when it's a commercial transaction, there's a lot less that a seller has to disclose. And there's a lot of loopholes in if the buyer's out there, they got to be aware that they should be represented by competent real estate professionals.
Right.
And if they're not, and I've seen it numerous times, and I've seen it numerous times recently, people get taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And it's sad to say that a lot of people have invested most of their life savings in a project, be it a residential property or commercial piece of property, and they get in there and it's not what they bought.
Right.
And it's not what they were told that they bought. And so they've been harmed greatly. And so we don't like that. And so I'm more than happy to help somebody that I think's been wronged. And so I think the concept, too, and this is a little side note, too, these aren't frivolous lawsuits. And it's unfortunate that the frivolous lawsuits get some of the media attention, but I'll be honest with you, I've never been in front of a judge that wants a frivolous lawsuit heard in front of them.
Right.
And so I think the frivolous lawsuit concept that's been spun probably by insurance companies because they get sued a lot.
Oh, exactly.
And they don't want to make lawyers look bad, but I'll be honest with you. Has it ever happened? Of course it has, but it doesn't happen with the regularity I think that most people believe it does.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. And politicians, lobbyists have something to play in that game as well. We're talking with Frank Miranda, real estate attorney here in Tampa Bay, and he's got an office conveniently located on Cypress, just between downtown and the West Shore District. So a great location you have there, Frank.
I appreciate that. And it took us 2.5 years to build that project. We built it from scratch, and very proud of that building. And there's, I can say from my firm perspective, coming to me, one, is not any more expensive than going to a title company. And you're going to be in that ballpark range. And number two, when you come to the office, we're very proud of it because, one, it's not stuffy. It's a modern building with concrete floors, exposed ductwork. There's music playing. and not the old elevator music. And, we want people to feel when they come to our office for any problem, it's going to be equivalent to dropping your car off at a Mercedes. You're going to get top-notch service. We're going to make sure that your needs and your questions are answered, and we're going to make it efficient. You're not going to be there all day long. And so when you leave my office, if something's wrong, you call me personally, and I'll take care of it.
Yeah, and Stephanie's awesome over there. She does a great job. You got a great staff. Lauren, your team is awesome. I met most of the team now. But, yeah, so I want to shift gears, too. I want to talk a little bit about, with any kind of law changes in the real estate space, because that's something that happens every year. There's different laws, some certain rules sunset at the end of the year. Certain rules will sunset, Save Our Homes, all these different types of programs. Have you seen anything, along those lines that changes that our consumers might want to know about?
Well, there's nothing that I would say practically has changed, okay? But I know, my ninja to my left has mentioned, some of the programs that are now out. I think the programs that were into effect when the economy, quite honestly, was bad under the Obama administration, some of those have faded away. I think there's still some HARP out there, something of that nature. But those are all dealing with circumstances where, a consumer is already in trouble.
Right.
The stuff that's going on now, and I mentioned that form contract that most professionals use and should use.
That's right.
That contract gets modified and reviewed, I think, on a yearly basis. That contract's extremely important, and I've told many realtors, I said, listen, don't get compliant with that because it changes all the time, and you need to read it on a regular basis and be familiar with it. And what's most important, and what's mostly underused, is there's a provision in those contracts that has blank spaces, says additional terms.
I like that.
And those additional terms, you got to protect your client, and you write down exactly what you mean. And the simpler you write it, the easier it is for me to litigate it. So if you want the escrow deposit non-refundable, just put it in there, and it gets to be released on a certain day. Just put it in there, and I'll make sure it gets done.
I like that.